A very good day to everybody, and we welcome David Chow, the Chief Technology Strategy Officer from Tech Micro, to our in conversation today. How are you doing, David?
Thanks
Am I
for
on?
having me on. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. We were talking about cybersecurity and what is the cybersecurity trends that you foresee in 2024, and any specific challenges would you that CISOs would face?
Yeah, absolutely. So starting in 2022, there has been a slew of ransomware attacks, and President Biden pushed out executive order back in 2022, which is focusing on zero trust architecture. And from my perspective, that will actually continue on to be a hot discussion for 2024. And then at the same time that this year, the buzzword for 2023 is artificial intelligence. And I do believe that that will continue to bleed over into conversation in 2024. So it's going to be one of the hot topic, continue on in 2024. And then lately, that there has been quite a bit of issues going on, geopolitical issues. So anything related to geopolitical issues, supply chain, those are going to be probably one of the hottest topic in 2024 in cybersecurity. And it's definitely impacting cybersecurity, even though countries are at war. But the bottom line is that there's nation state, what they have to gain is to focus on information extraction, influence, or monetary gains through cybersecurity means. So I can continue to see that issue as well as having the continuous war going on between Russia and Ukraine, as well as what's going on with the Middle East. That will continue to sustain in 2024 and having to be one of the hottest topic in cybersecurity as well.
Like for the past, I think for a fortnight, I've been speaking to many cybersecurity experts. We were speaking to this Optiv CEO, Kevin. Even today, I had a conversation with a couple of technology experts, and every one of them were highlighting that the next few years are going to be risky for cybersecurity, right? And you have worked with the federal government. What are the kind of issues that you can flag, and you can share with us some key insights about the evolving cybersecurity landscape?
So if you look at the geopolitical issues, right? So for one, that a lot of the physical war began before the actual physical war. A lot of it is really focusing on cyber attacks. A lot of it is information extraction. So before the Russia and Ukraine war happened, Russia actually tried to attack Ukraine infrastructure, critical infrastructure, to disable it, as well as its financial systems. So a lot as people are focusing more on relying on internet, relying on information through online means, or through the typical operational technology capabilities, you will see quite a bit of focus from nation state to focus on attacks within those areas. So that's one aspect, right? If you look at years past, this has probably happened back in 2019, 2020, where SolarWind, a company that produced hardware capabilities, they actually had a hack occur, and then it's impacting U.S. government quite a bit. And I mean, if you look at it, that's also a geopolitical risk where the hackers, the Russian group, basically is leveraging that capability to try to exploit information, try to extract information from U.S. government. So it created a huge, massive alert within the U.S. government on how to handle that situation. So I would just continue to see that as long as there's people conflict, you're going to see cybersecurity and you're going to see geopolitical issues. And a lot of times, geopolitical issues and cybersecurity actually goes hand in hand. One probably goes before the other, but then it's continuous cycle, one after the other.
So can we say that the cybersecurity issues crop up before a geopolitical issue, right? Yeah, they try to see what's the weakest
Yeah,
link first. Yeah.
yeah, because when we talk about cybersecurity, we focus on people, process, technology. But a lot
Yes.
of time that we're looking at, okay, so human element is the strongest link in terms of bringing people together, bringing the firefighter mentality. But also at the same time that people are also the weakest link, simply because they're curious, right? They click on something that they're not supposed to. They people play on their emotion, play on their religious reasons or things that they believe in. So when you encounter things like that, we're not machines, right? We have our emotions, which is good, which what's make us human and valuable. But at the same time that the attackers are also using that psychological behavior to find ways to attack. So when you look at when there's human when typically when we get into war situation, there's human interaction or human dispute. But when you get into cybersecurity, cybersecurity is also part of that human dispute. So as long as there are humans, there's always going to be cybersecurity.
Okay. Technology has been changing every few months, right? The turnover is it gets obsolete within 6 months to 8 months nowadays. So how do you relate this to cybersecurity concerns, and how do we pre-attempt in a way?
I think a lot of to stay current on the information. Obviously, we read stuff on news. We watch news quite a bit. We watch YouTube, listen to podcasts. I think that's one aspect of obtaining information. But largely, when I was the CIO for a U.S. government agency, I was really relying on just having interaction with my fellow C-levels, right? The CIOs and CISOs, and obtaining information through conversation. We had monthly CIO council meetings where we actually talk about relevant issues. It's not just IT issues. We talk about cybersecurity threats. We talk about supply chain. So when you have a support group like that, a lot of time that you get firsthand information, and also from real life experience for those individuals at the C-level that they have dealt with the situation or they're dealing with the situation. So it becomes more relevant. It becomes more personal as well because you know these C-levels that you're engaging with. So I would say that for any cyber professional or even for IT professional, having a support group, having people that you can rely on, right? It could be partners, right? Your vendor partners. It could also be, your C-levels or your peers that you actually have frequent conversation with to understand what's relevant at hand, what's going on with the world, right? We talk about geopolitical issues. We talk about zero trust architecture. We also talk about AI, the hottest topics for past 2 years as well as coming year. So those are something that people actually have their relevant experience that they can easily share, either through your support group or going through your partner relationship that you can talk to.
So, like in all stages of life, talking to somebody helps. That's what you mean, right?
Yeah, a lot of time it's just talking to other people rather than try to figure out yourself. You could Google, you could ask ChatGPT, and they'll probably return some good information. But I think a lot of time you actually learn from having that human interaction and exchanging ideas, as well as being able to clarify with people.
So that's a takeaway for every one of us. Good, yeah. Like the conversation I mentioned, we were talking about generative AI and its impact on cybersecurity, right? How it's reforming, reinventing the way security concerns are. If you can talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I see AI as double-edged sword, right? There's positive side and negative side. I'll focus on positive for now, but I'll get into some of the downsides. So obviously in cybersecurity, we leverage AI because there's a 2.1 million workforce shortage on cybersecurity globally. And in order to combat that, we need to be more efficient in a way of us managing our environment as well as weeding out any false positives. Because when we deploy capabilities, a lot of time we get sensors, we get data back, and those data could be false positive indication that we're getting attacks. So rather than having your overall workforce, cybersecurity workforce, to focus on resolving each issues, you could have hundreds of potential positive incidents going on at the same time. So rather than doing that, leveraging machine learning, leveraging artificial intelligence is definitely helping to reduce the churns. And vendors have been using machine learning quite a bit, for the past 5-10 years. So it's nothing new. But the idea is to adding on, the large language model from artificial intelligence to be able to take your historical data, especially in cybersecurity where pattern recognition is critical, where you can actually take that information, apply that throughout, and be able to identify false positives very quickly so that the valuable resources are focusing on what's critical at hand, the true incident. So that's on the cybersecurity tool, right? But at the same time that, I can give you one personal case how I use artificial intelligence as companies or as enterprises are embarking on that. So I was in the Middle East last week to attend a government sponsor, the Saudi Arabia government sponsor cybersecurity forum, and I was in meeting all days with clients as well as attending the session, being a keynote speaker for the session. And then I got a quick urgent call or urgent request coming from Australia. They wanted to have a discussion about cybersecurity frameworks. So they want to do a comparison of NIST, National Institute of Science Technology, where, for US, that has been our Bible in terms of how we use security guideline. They want to compare against Australia's Essential 8. Essential 8 is something that came out last year in light from the Australian government in light of continuous data breach, privacy data breach since October of last year. So they wanted to have better understanding. I read both documents inside out, but I just didn't have time to quickly to get those information together. I can talk about it, but to go through a crosswalk, to be able to show to our clients value added capability, I want to put together a presentation. So I use ChatGPT, right? So I basically query ChatGPT, help me to crosswalk the information between two framework. One is NIST 800-53, the other one's Australia's Essential 8, and be able to churn out the information. So I was able to look at it, go through the necessary review, and really identify that, okay, so this is something that's relevant that I do want to present. So I was able to translate that into a presentation format. So that's really providing the work efficiency, as well as, throughout my busy day, I'm able to just churn that something out and complete a presentation within 30 minutes to 1 hour. So that's the power of having that artificial intelligence capability. But on the flip side, you look at it, so who's actually owning the right of that presentation, right? Is it me that actually did the prompt? Or is this somebody else that actually or is it OpenAI that actually created the ChatGPT capability? So that's one of the area, right? Second, you can question the ethical standpoint, right? It's not my intellectual, it's not my IP, even though I was the one that came up with the query. So is it right to do something like that and present to the client? Or should I just tell the client that, hey, you can do it yourself, just go through ChatGPT and go through a framework? I did spend the time to make sure that the information presented is relevant based on my review and based on my understanding being a past CIO CISO. So that's where I added the value, right? But I just didn't have the necessary time to really transpose and go through the crosswalk. So you can question a lot of it, and then lastly, that I didn't type in any privacy information. But if I were to type in privacy information or information that's relevant to this specific company that's private or privileged to that company, then perhaps I would be in a violation of not being able to respect the privacy law or the privacy aspect. But then, so you look at their positive side, there's negative side, and I think on the cybersecurity side, there are two issues that we fear the most. One is identity crisis. So with AI, you can be, people can actually pretend to be you. Somebody can actually, based on this recording, 3 seconds, they'll be able to create a deepfake video of me talking about something that I would never talk about. There's actually one on President Biden. I think I do believe there is one for President Trump as well. So you can have a situation like that and create a lot of issues. So that's an identity crisis from my perspective. And I don't think there has been a really powerful way or a powerful tool to be able to go through the detection. That's why President Biden last week issued this artificial intelligence executive order. So with the fear that people are going to take it to do wrong. So the second part that we fear as a cybersecurity industry or cybersecurity company is that people can actually pretend based on people, because we put information on social media, and when we put information on social media, we're basically inviting any social engineering attack, meaning that individuals hackers can actually look at your social media profile and be able to understand a lot about yourself. So when they craft a phishing email or phishing message, they can actually be very personalized because they have done research about you. I'll give you one example. So I started with Trend Micro back in January of 2022, so last January. And 2 weeks after, I got a text impersonating our CEO, Eva Chen, asking for a gift card, asking me to buy her gift card, right? So being a new person that just started, and also I was actually interviewed by Eva, by the CEO. So I feel like, okay, maybe there's half truth to that. So what I did was I actually reached out to her special assistant. And even though I was in the US, it was actually in the afternoon, probably 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I reached out to the person. The person was in Taiwan, and that was 2 o'clock in the morning, right? So person that was not very happy about it, but essentially the person told me that, yeah, Eva's in Taiwan. She's not traveling for any conferences, and she would not reach out to you for something like that. So I fell for it, right? I fell for it from the perspective that I need to validate whether this is true or not. But because I put on social media, I put it on LinkedIn that I started to work for Trend Micro, and 2 weeks later, somebody got a hold of it and did a reverse engineering and did something on me. So anybody can be attacked. But then at the same time that it could be personalized, it could be using AI, it could be very believable. And in the past, and it could also do a perfect translation. So in the past that, some of the tricks of identifying whether you receive a phishing email is to see whether it's grammatically correct, whether it's addressing proper English, for English speaking country, but for other country, whether it's written properly. And whether something is written properly. But now with ChatGPT, with OpenAI, with generative AI, a lot of it can actually be very specific, very personal, and as well as, very accurate. So that's the fear of us not being able to use some of the ideas, some of the way that we share with people to be aware of phishing emails. The efficiency, this is the metrics I'm providing you based on how much money that you're giving me. And I understand corporately, that's the same case, right? The CIO, the CISOs, yes, because of a lot of everything that happened on the news, people are pumping money into cybersecurity. But the board will ask, so what has been the efficiency, right? What was your baseline? What has been the efficiency or the layer of maturity that you're achieving? So that's something that we're still in the business environment that people need to be able to present value back to the board or to the investors. So I think that's a critical part, not only ensuring that a safer cybersecurity or safer environment, but also making sure that the investment put in is actually a sound investment, efficient investment, as also is well invested.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for having a talk with us, David. Looking forward to.
Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it. I really enjoyed this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. Sure. Thank you, Kim. Yeah.